It's going to end up perhaps at the highest court in the land. We'll see. But we think there'll be a lot of litigation because we can't have an election stolen like this. You have election day.
Donald Trump launching a scathing attack at the election process last night. The president doubling down on claims of corruption and voter fraud without offering any evidence. Now, Trump's comments and mounting legal challenges are creating a cloud over the integrity of this election, and still no clear winner in the race to the White House. Let's bring in our Washington bureau chief, Jackson Proskow, who is following everything. The numbers so important in this. Jackson, we appreciate you joining us. I mean, let's get to the key states, because at the end of the day, this is all that matters. The counting continues. Where does it stand right now in states like Pennsylvania and Georgia?
Good morning to you, Anthony. Hopefully, while folks were getting a little bit of sleep, they would have seen these results trickle in. And where we are this morning is that Joe Biden has now overtaken Donald Trump in Georgia. It's a slim margin, just over 1,000 votes, and there are not many votes left to count. So wherever that state ends up, it's likely to be in recount territory because the margin is so slim. In Pennsylvania, they're continuing the count, and Donald Trump's once hefty lead is evaporating pretty rapidly here. And there are still a couple 100,000 votes to go. So it seems as though, based on where those votes are coming from, that Joe Biden is likely to take the lead in that state, and possibly by a sizable margin. We're hoping for more clarity from state officials there. And the other one we're watching here, Anthony, really is Nevada at this point, where Joe Biden had a razor-thin lead of about 10,000 votes. And we're expecting a large release of votes from that state later on today that should give us some more clarity as to where that state is headed. And of course, they're still counting in Arizona as well, where Joe Biden's lead is actually shrinking a bit as the votes are counted in that state.
So the president needs to run the table right now, and Joe Biden only needs Nevada, for example, to win this. But the president, as you know, again, falsely claimed to be the winner, falsely claimed voter fraud. Any merit at all? Is there any evidence provided to support those claims at this point?
None whatsoever. And here's a few ways we know that. Number one, the Trump campaign has tried to launch lawsuits in several states making these same allegations, and the court challenges keep falling apart because they have no evidence to back the allegations. Number two, even though the president is coming out there and saying there was all this fraud, he has not provided any proof. And now the Trump campaign is actually turning around and asking people to provide the proof to them because they don't have it themselves. And number three, I know we hear from viewers all the time who say, I saw a video of this, I saw a video of that on YouTube, on Facebook, or whatever. Those continue to be debunked. They continue to fall apart. One viral example, a video of what somebody said was equipment being smuggled into the Pennsylvania Convention Center to steal ballots. It was a TV crew moving equipment. So this is why we're urging people not to jump to conclusions here. These are complicated systems that involve the vote counting process. There's a lot of redundancy. It takes time because in Nevada, for example, they're going slow to make sure that provisional ballots, which are counted at the last minute, they're going through to make sure that nobody voted twice or in multiple counties. There is a lot of rigor that goes into all of this. This is the process the Trump campaign is currently trying to disrupt right now. So, Anthony, we urge people to be very cautious with jumping to conclusions until somebody produces some evidence of fraud, which has not happened to date and didn't have to happen after the 2016 election either, an election in which the president won and still claimed that there was massive voter fraud.
That's an interesting part of the story as well, because, you know, it's more complicated, obviously, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And sort of illustrate this for us, because so many people are saying, look, why is it taking so long? But put that into context, given the circumstances, and I guess obviously more mail-in ballots this time around, and where traditionally it's leaning.
Here's an example for you. Pennsylvania. It's the state that everyone is watching. We could have known the result by now of those 3 million mail-in ballots, except Republicans in the state legislature prevented the state from pre-counting mail-in ballots the way many, many other states, in fact, most other states do. As a result, state officials could not start opening those ballots or tallying up the votes until Election Day. And with 3 million mail-in ballots, that was always going to take time. Remember, the president told his own supporters not to vote by mail, so it's no surprise that mail-in ballots overwhelmingly lead towards Democrats. This should not be a surprise to anybody at this point. And one last note, if this is some broad conspiracies to steal the election from Donald Trump, How come Republicans down ballot did perfectly well? They've held on to their seats in the House. They've actually made some gains there. They've held on to their seats in the Senate, and Democrats may not get a Senate majority. It's only the top of the ticket that's in play right now because the system is working the way the system was designed to work.
Jackson, always a pleasure. I appreciate your time and your insight this morning. Jackson Proskow joining us from Washington.